Good evening, Dr. Dhande. Uh, it's immense pleasure to have you on Caizin Commune podcast, Who Has a Clue, where we speak to people who indeed do have a clue. And of course, you are probably at the helm of all of it. Um, it's an extreme honor and a privilege to be talking to you, especially on the topic which is extremely prevalent. At Caizin and through my whole entire career as well, I have worked with a lot of freshers, with young engineers, to get them up to speed with their careers. And this constant question about how education drives a lot of role in employability. For better or worse, we have come to this situation where colleges have become center of more than center of excellence and talent. They've actually become center of recruitment. And yeah, you may agree or may not, we will figure out. But an extremely warm welcome, Padmashri Dr. Sanjay Dhande. It gives me extreme pleasure to have you here. When we talk about education and employability, like I was mentioning, we already have placement cells in colleges, etc. The courses are designed to stay in line with the industry. Most of the companies, in fact, have now started having captive departments of sorts to make sure that the students that come out are readily employable. There might be conflicting views, and I'm probably on the other side of it, wherein I do believe that maybe colleges is not the place to cultivate employability. The colleges are a place to gain education, to discover yourself, to gain that capability, to last for a longer run in your career and overall achieve excellence or do bigger things, better things. I also feel that with this particular approach, where the industry is a little intrusive in education, it gives an extremely narrow mindset and a narrow view of what lies ahead of us, which is, of course, extremely in line and very close to the today problems that the industry is facing. And that is how this kind of, there's a heavy bias that gets induced into people that this is the technology stack. Everybody becomes application programmers, so on and so forth. All right, so before, I don't want to speak a lot, I definitely want my listeners to hear your views and your opinions. I just wanted to set the stage and get the ball rolling in your court. So Dr. Dhande, over to you. I would really like to hear you, and please feel absolutely free to go on with your monologue. It's an extreme honor to have you here. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Amaya. Thank you very much. As I was mentioning to you earlier, I am also I have spent a lifetime talking to young people, working with them, and then being amongst the young people. And so I have got an inkling of what's happening in education space, as well as what is this interface of employability and education. So the first thing that I would like to mention is that education, what is it for? What are the goals of education? And there are two goals at a very fundamental level. One is the enlightenment, and the other one is. Now, enlightenment is essentially from a raw person, you become a human being capable of communicating, capable of transacting your business of life, while empowerment is where you get your living, actually. And therefore, some people join their family business, some people start the business, some people will go for a job, some people will go for a career with the government, etc., etc., etc. As a matter of fact, when you go from kindergarten to primary school to secondary school to the college, you are in a very straight-jacketed channel. All of a sudden, the world becomes open like a sky, and you have to make your own path in that sky. And that is where you will find a lot of people get baffled, and a lot of people feel that there is a need for friendship, there is a need for company, there is a need for association in some sense. And that's very important, no doubt about it. So all the first part of enlightenment and the second part of empowerment are the major goals of education. In the good old days, there was no placement office. And as a matter of fact, I very strongly believe that there should not be any placement office in any campus or in any academic institution. Unfortunately, the order of the day seems to be that the placement has become very important. The CTC has become very important. What is the package? Nowadays, nobody talks about the salary, but they talk about the package. In any case, what I find is that whether you talk about engineering, management, or other areas, you will find that people are interested in a job. And unfortunately, the 2 years of corona virus had sapped them of the vital experience of life and investments that they make of 4 years. And that is very sad, no doubt about it. And the remaining 2 years were at their disposal, maybe first year before graduation, 1 year after the coronavirus. In any case, I find that 2 years also is very important. They must have formed the bonds, they must have formed the association, they must have had some friends from the schools, and that friendship goes and carries forward. So I guess what I find is that the situation of employability has become baffling to the students. So there are two components to it. Number one is that Corona was an accident, absolutely accident. The education was never designed for a situation which was online education. And to me, there are many, many things regarding online education which we did not attend to during the Corona period. It was an accident. All of a sudden, people started coming on to the online mode and delivering their lectures. Students were very happy because they will mark the attendance, and sometimes they will just switch off or go away or do something. So I guess all that was not a very desirable experience. One should design the online education properly. One example I will give is that slowly and slowly the interactivity amongst the teacher and the students has gone down quite a bit, even in the offline mode or person-to-person mode. If you look at the olden era of education, the teacher will come in front of the class and sit quietly. And the students will ask the questions, and the answers to the question will become a lecture. This question-answer dialogue is very important. As a matter of fact, the whole of education was nothing but a dialogue between the teacher and the students. In good old days, there used to be only one teacher and one student. That is not possible nowadays. It is not feasible even. But I would say that the question-answer dialogue and the interactivity. So if you want to go online, then the students must change their attitude. They must ask thousands of questions. If you don't ask questions, then you are in trouble. I mean, I still remember an American friend of mine who was in Peshawar teaching English as a Fulbright scholar. And he said after every 10 minutes, he will ask the students, do you have any questions, like a typical American professor? And the students will not ask any question. And then all of a sudden, when the teacher concluded, the Fulbright scholar concluded that he is the utter failure in Peshawar, he was invited for a dinner by one student. And then all the students, male as well as female students, congregated. They asked thousands of questions. So he says, why don't you ask me in the class? And they said, no, that is not in our culture. So we have cultural problems, we have technological problems, we have psychological problems. So all those problems have to be solved before you go on to the online education. As a matter of fact, this is a very different topic, but the question is that you learn only when you ask questions. You never learn anything by passive listening. And that is a very fundamental principle that gets violated, particularly in the online mode, because you cannot be a passive listener in an online mode. If you don't have questions, I don't have anything to tell, actually. And that is the lecture, actually. Anyway, according to me, that was one example of how online education needs to be designed properly, so that the students learn out of the online educational mode also. Any case, the question that comes to us is that because of the loss of these 2 years, some of the students feel depressed, some of the students feel as if they are not getting a job, mainly because of this online education. I would like to answer with a story. And according to me, a good teacher is always a good storyteller. And that is my second principle, that if you want to do online education, you cannot just take a book and read out of the book, because people will say, look, I can read the book, I can go onto the internet and see hundreds and thousands of things. So what the hell is the lecture for? But again, we don't want to digress. According to me, the most important thing is the story of Eklavya. Eklavya was rejected by the teacher. He was told that I will not teach you the skills of archery. He felt depressed because he wanted to become an archer, and he went to the woods again, to the jungles, and he created a statue from mud of the Guru Dronacharya, and he kept the Guru Dronacharya's statue and practiced, and became so skillful that when Guru Dronacharya and his students were visiting the jungle, and one dog was barking, he just shot the arrows one after the other in a very circular fashion, so that the dog could not bark at all. And the arrows did not kill him. And that was beautiful way of making the arrangements. And the Guru Dronacharya, the rest of the story, everybody knows that he was asked to pay his Guru Dakshina, and the Guru Dronacharya asked him to give the... what I mean to say is that the only way you can learn is practice, even though you may not have a teacher in front of you. When you have thousands of questions, go to a teacher and have an appointment with the teacher. If you can make a teacher intellectually insecure, you are a very good student.
Wow.
Not physically insecure, but you must create intellectual insecurity in a teacher. If you can do so, you are a good student. So I consider that the story of Eklavya, and by the way, the story goes on to tell that when he lost his thumb, he started shooting from the legs, the foot, and became again a very successful archer, became a skillful archer. So in other words, he was never depressed, he was never disheartened. He had infinite source of enthusiasm to learn, and he learned on his own. So according to me, what we need today is digital Eklavya. So we don't need the archer Ekavyas, we don't need the digital Ekavyas. So I decided, of course, there are a lot of decisions which never get executed in my mind. And the story or the book on digital Eklavya is still somewhere I have half finished. So what I mean to say is that it is a very important thing is that life moves on, and students should know that being a digital Eklavya is the only way you can be successful employee, you can be successful professional. After every 5 years, the technology changes. I mean, what I learned in the college is no longer going to be useful to me today. For instance, the technology has changed, the means have changed, the software is a big thing now. So all this has become, and this is going to keep on changing. Today you will find people are talking about Chat GPT and Chat GPT 4. And who has heard about it about 3 years back or 2 years back in some sense. But I would say that the important thing for the students to know is that never get disheartened because of the fact that you lost 2 years of your college education due to COVID and all the education was online. The second most important thing is that education is a 3-story building, including the foundation, the first floor, the second floor, and third floor. The foundation is what you learn at home. In fact, I started recording a series called Shubham Karoti. So I remember that in the good old days, we used to come from school and go for play. After the play, you wash your hands and feet and then sit down and recite a lot of things, including Ram Raksha, including Pade, including other things. Now that learning, that memorization, the kind of recall that the brain became familiar with was a very important and a subtle education at home. So according to me, that became the foundation. The society around you also teaches you a lot of things. The family teaches you a lot of things. And all that education is a part of your foundation. Then the primary education, the secondary education, and then the tertiary education, or what we call it as the higher education in India, is the now everybody wants to build the third floor without having a foundation, without having the first floor, and without having the second floor. How the hell can it be? There is no building in the world where you have only third floor and nothing in between. So you have to go step by step, understand that you must build the foundation, you must build the proper skills of the primary, secondary, and tertiary education. Now, what are the skills that are there? You know, there are 64 kalas, as you know, in the good old days when students will go to Sandipani Ashram, he will teach them 64 kalas, or the skills, and 14 shastras. The 14 shastras were like Niti Shastra, or for that matter, other things regarding diplomacy or economics, etc., etc. And 64 kalas included many things, whether it is singing, whether it is cooking, whether it is carpentry, etc., etc. 64 of them. Can you believe that? And all the students were supposed to go through them. Some of them will become good at some things. They want to become expert, and therefore they will progress in that direction and become very skillful archer or skillful gada, whatever. Yeah. So what I mean to say is that if not 64 kalas, today the only kala that you need and the only skill that you need is how to learn any other skill. Wow. And that is something which I consider Eklavya mastered, in the sense that the story of Eklavya is very important to me, because he knew how to acquire a skill on his own. And that is the most important skill, that how to acquire something on your own is the most important, because things are going to change around you. Obviously, 25, 30 years, it is not going to be the same. Today, you are finding that the things are changing, and therefore you need to know artificial intelligence, you need to know the machine learning, you need to know the data science, and tomorrow there will be some other buzzwords. But buzzwords are not important. The foundation is more important. What exactly is if you ask me, if A, then B, else C. If you know the first principle of programming, you have understood the whole of artificial intelligence. But if I say so, people will say you are mad, or artificial intelligence has progressed a lot, etc., etc. But basically, what I mean to say is that if you see the history of artificial intelligence, it was at the top, and then it went down quite a bit. And then again, it has resurfaced in the new form. A lot of times the technologies are up and down and up and down. So you must know what are the upcoming technologies. If you ask me what will be the technology 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now. So one should be a stargazing. Similarly, you should have a technology gazer who will predict what will be the future technologies that you must know well beforehand. I still remember when I visited MIT in USA, they were talking about folding displays. The display can be on a piece of paper and fold it and put it in the pocket. So today you will find that there are such displays available in the market. And that has become now a commonplace technology. So what I mean to say is that people are working, people are thinking of tomorrow's technologies. But in any case, technologies will change. You must have one skill, namely how to acquire any technology, and your foundation should be good. Your ground floor or first floor should be good. Your second floor should be good. Then no matter what is the combination of tertiary education, no matter what specializations you have, no matter what degrees you get, you will be a jack of all the trades and probably master of one. And therefore, I would consider that to be the most important part. Students should not worry at all about the fact that they have not got a job as quickly. First thing is that the placement, even though you may not get through the placement, doesn't matter. On your own, you should try. On your own, you should develop the skills of communication. On your own, you should develop the skills that are required for being a successful employee or a successful entrepreneur. If you are going to do the startups, then there are many skills that are required, including the economic skills in startups. Startups requires a real ecosystem, which is very different than the ecosystem that is provided in the college, or for that matter, in the educational institutions. As an educationist, I would say I'm not an expert on startups at all, but we understand the things and we provide the opportunities. Our job was to provide the opportunities for the students to grow, and that we do very faithfully and very successfully in some cases. But now the education also has expanded enormously. The number of students has gone fourfold. As a matter of fact, when the Britishers started and we had the UGC and old structures, these old structures was for the size of X. Today, the education system has become 4X. And naturally, the systems which were designed for X cannot hold for 4X, actually. And that is true for transportation, that is true for everything. In India, the population has exploded to such an extent that even the middle class in India is bigger than the population of many countries. So obviously, you will find that there are issues of scale, there are issues, the jobs are decreasing, opportunities are decreasing, and the number of people seeking those opportunities are increasing. So obviously what will happen is that people will go for higher and higher education and degrees. But ultimately, the fundamental aspect is You must have a good common sense, and you must have the ability to acquire the skills on your own. If you have got these two things, you don't have to worry about the employability at all.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to take some time to recover from that, Dr. Dhande. That was such a, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I loved. So the skill to gain another skill, that is a great takeaway for sure.
Yeah.
And your ability to learn through asking questions. That is a
Yes.
wonderful thing that you said. We have certain school models which are coming up, which are based only on curiosity of children. And that's how
Right.
it comes up to be. You're absolutely right. Professors these days probably just step into the classroom, just give a lecture for 1 hour. There is no interaction between the teacher and the students, at least in that cultural environment of the college. So rightly observed. And unfortunately, probably things are not changing. Maybe newer schools. I've also been out 20 years of the college, so I'm not really gone back to see if things really have changed. But I've been talking to people, I've been talking to young engineers to understand if they find it any better. Dr. Dhande, one question here I would like to ask you is, when a student enters, so we spoke about primary education, the secondary education, and I would like to probably stick to STEM and let's say engineering for that matter. When a student enters the years of his engineering, do you feel that he already enters the education system with a certain outcome pre-decided for him? That he already knows that 4 years later he wants to land a job in so and so company. He already has some kind of an idol in front of him. He says, I want to become someone like him. This is the work that I want to do. And does that affect excellence or pursuit of excellence?
The standard dream of the dream job, as it is called. In good old days, metal box was a dream job, or Tata Motors was a dream job for engineers, if you're talking about the STEM people.
True.
But now, no longer that is the case. People are not interested in telco. In those days, it was called, or metal box. In those days, it was. The metal box doesn't exist even, actually. So,
Yes.
what I mean to say is that the half-life of a company may be less than years. As a matter of fact, was where they said, look around you and find out the companies which have life of more than 100 years, and very few companies will be there which have life of more than 100 years. Correct. So what I mean to say is that this dream job or a dream career is changing from time to time. Today, you will find that if you are looking at the state colleges and if you are looking at the IITs, then the national institutes and the state level institutes, the dream career or the dream job concepts are different. For instance, if you look at finance, now financial people are looking for those who are good in mathematics, those who are good in statistics, those who are good in modeling, those who are good in prediction through the model. So what I mean to say is that finance has become a very big career for students from IITs. While going to a job and getting a air-conditioned room and sitting in a comfortable office and working in front of the computer for 6 hours or 8 hours has been the dream of many people in cities like Pune or Mumbai or Chennai or Hyderabad, etc., etc. So what I mean to say is the state level, the dream may be different. The national level, the dream may be different. And there is something called as the MBA. And therefore, the students after the engineering degree get a degree in management and then go for a job. Obviously, the salaries are different. I still remember in the very good old days also, if you are a management trainee, your salary will be X. And if you are engineering training, then your salary will be Y. And X is always greater than Y. And therefore, why should I become an engineer when, see, the whole thing is what I like and what I dislike is never known to many young people. And what I feel is I want to do this, and that passion should be there in the heart. If that is there, then the rest of the things will fall in line. But if you don't know anything, and if you feel like I will go with the janta, I will go with the crowd, I will just flow, then obviously you are in trouble.
True, true. So during your formative years, when you're learning, when you're still building skills inside the college, you are exposed to a wide array and a variety of subjects, something which you may not use over a long period of your successful career, for example. And students always question the applicability of those subjects, as in they question how is the curriculum set, as in why am I even learning this if I want to grow up and become so and so person or want to do so and so job. And my answer to them has been that it kind of exposes and widens your horizons. Now, whether you pick that or not eventually is for you to tell if you develop an acumen or interest in that particular subject. What is your take on this? So curriculum in general?
I would say that the curriculum is never designed for a job. And the intrusion of corporate world into design of curriculum is absolutely undesirable. They can give suggestions, but leave it to the experts, leave it to the people who are in the field of academics to design the curriculum. And curriculum is not simply information that is shoveled into the minds of the students. Curriculum is basically for inculcating directly and indirectly many skills. Critical thinking is a skill that we imbibe in the students. Creative thinking is a skill that we imbibe in the students. Computational thinking is a skill that we imbibe in the students. Now, these skills are not explicit in many cases. These are implicit in many cases. I will tell you one very important and a simple example. Abstraction is a skill that is required in computational thinking. Now, I remember that when you start your schools, you will learn arithmetic. And by the time you acquire some skills of arithmetic, all of a sudden there is an invasion of algebra and people will lose their interest in mathematics because algebra was in some sense abstract. You say, take a variable x. Now, what is a variable x? And nobody knew exactly how to abstract and how to do the abstraction of a variable x. And this abstraction is so critical in many, many aspects of life. I will give you another example, that is that of the concept of a mind. Can you show me a mind? There is no physical mind, actually. But concept of a mind is also an abstraction, but that is something which we learn through the culture and whatever, the outside the classroom. And so concept of a variable x, concept of the mind are all abstractions. And these abstractions are understood slowly but surely by all the people. So this is just a concept of computational thinking. And now, if you look at patterning, if you look at abstraction, these are some of the concepts of computational thinking. Creativity is very important. You just mentioned, and I'm very glad that the curiosity can only be raised and can only be inculcated by asking questions. So when I say that, when somebody is asking questions, we say that you are a curious person. So this is something very important. So all these things, like directly or indirectly, we teach in the courses, and that is very important for people. I never have questioned anyway. I used to like social sciences a lot. I used to like economics a lot. I still love psychology a lot. And believe it or not, when I was a director, they said you are very soft on humanities and social science department because I used to give them a lot of support. But engineering departments are equally important. So I didn't have any such what you can call questions regarding why am I learning what I am learning, because I used to feel that you are developing many things through learning a subject, actually, not simply just the subject itself, actually. And one very interesting thing I remember in Pune at that time was the British Council Library. So we used to go to the British Council Library and get a lot of books and read, not from the textbook, read from those British books, and then take the notes and compare what exactly is the syllabus. The syllabus we will find out at the last, at the end, actually, sort of, because most of the time the syllabus is such a drab document that it won't inspire anything in you.
So true. So true. So inspiration and motivation, I believe they go.
I think the students should understand that they are not studying a subject, they are growing through the subject.
So nice. Yeah, well said. So one of the talks, Dr. Dhande, I was going through, it happens to be floating on YouTube. I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but in one of your talks, you actually mentioned that education, the journey of education is about exploring themselves. Students need to explore themselves, discover their acumen, find out and discover the world around them, and see where they can add value. That is a sure short way to excellence. Definitely one, if you can add value in any manner, what you can, money will also follow. I believe people are stuck in this. I would not call it a vicious circle, but the reason people are stuck in this is because they have obligations. They are afraid. They are a little apprehensive of becoming financially successful, and which has also become the barometer of success, unfortunately. So just the way you're talking about the CTC trap, a college is known, how good a college is actually known by the number of offers or number of students it gets placed versus, let's say, number of patents filed or number of research papers published. That is not the metric anymore. And I have actually been through colleges who have scrapped their last year syllabus and pushed in application programming languages. And I've absolutely hated that. So I was like, so I can see C# and .NET and even DevOps skills, which I know are extremely difficult to find. It's not possible to find DevOps engineers today. They come at a very heavy price because it's a rare skill to do it correctly. So I understand if colleges are kind of tuning themselves to the industry because they would want the students to become successful faster. But I do feel that it may be, just may be, killing excellence at a faster rate than we would like. What is your take on that?
So I will give you an example that a doctoral student who has acquired the doctorate in nuclear physics was hired by a company on the Wall Street.
Wow. Okay.
Now, why you ask the question, and the answer is he was good at modeling, he was good at mathematical modeling, and he was very good at solving the problems. So what I mean to say is that the companies will always look for the basic skills and not simply the tertiary skills. And those people who have got the basic skills will succeed in life, not people who will acquire only the tertiary skills or even the buzzwords. In fact, the world has gone beyond simply the tertiary skills. Nowadays, only the buzzwords. You throw around the buzzwords and you think you will get the job. You may get today's job, but you will not survive for more than a couple of years in that job because unless you have got the basic skills. And as I told you, that this graduate of Stanford University got hired on the Wall Street. And why was it? Because of his mathematical and numerical skills. And even though he was a PhD in nuclear physics.
Wow.
So I rest my case in some sense with this example.
Absolutely a mic drop moment for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Dhande, so there's going to be an awkward question if you don't mind. So we do come across a lot of people and who are not necessarily from STEM or even maybe from STEM, but they possess skills which don't really have commercial leverage. Many skills around us, let's say even design thinking for that matter. We actually have courses,
Yes.
even in MIT, where we know that user problems, large world problems, even world hunger, you can take a stab at that through design thinking. And we know a lot of
Yes.
workshops and degree courses are available out there. But when we go out in the industry and actually look out for people saying, will you give me a job if I do it this manner? And the answer would be a little disheartening. So you would not really find jobs about that. While we know that this is the right way to go about things, this also fuels our inner motivation. And this is what we want to pursue as a career option. What happens to those whose skills don't have a commercial leverage?
First thing is that do what you have the passion for. I still remember when I graduated, and now you are asking a lot of things that personally. I remember I went for higher studies because I was set on going for higher studies. And a lot of my colleagues joined the jobs. I also went to the interview for telco and got a job. And the placement officer came out of the room and he said, young man, please come here. I want to give you some advice. And he says, no, I'm not talking as placement officer. I'm talking as Mr. So-and-so. And he says, you will get a job in this company, no doubt about it. But please don't join the company. I said, thank you very much. I have decided not to join you anyway. So what I mean to say is that do what you feel like, do the passion that you have in you. And if you don't have the passion, then develop the passion for something which you feel like. If you have the passion for something, I'm sure you will succeed, even if you open up a pawn shop, or even if you open up a whatever little thing
Yes.
that you will passionate about. So please follow the passion. Don't follow the crowd. And once you get a stability of some kind, then what you said is the second step. That second step is that you can promote design thinking, you can promote the other aspects of life, but you need a certain amount of stability. And the first cut, when you have to cut through the jungle, if I may say so, then the only thing that will guide you will be your passion. And that passion is very important in the young people. I want to do this, and that is very important. Whether you go with the crowd or whether just because the Janta wants it, otherwise my dialogue with that officer would not have happened. I mean, sort of, so what I mean to say is that do follow your passion, and there will be instances when you will feel as if you are losing, but you are not losing because you are sticking to your passion.
So true. Yeah, it actually, so you did bring up a great point. It was in my notes as well. Career is built with alignment. And in my notes, it's about aligning your education, your skills, your passion, and vision and outcomes. Sorry, the 5-hand rule, which I actually practice, it does come from that. So you have to learn, you have to gather some theoretical knowledge to be able to reach somewhere. You need to know the science behind it. You need the skills to actually pursue and digest what you have learned and build something to be able to create something of it. You of course will be driven because of the passion that you have.
Right.
And in the direction that you pursue, you will need a vision and outcomes to measure where you are. I do feel that an entire holistic approach Because I keep telling people that if companies can pivot their business, their entire business strategy, and we know many successful companies who have done that. Samsung is one of them, right? From doing washing machines to televisions to now a mobile leading company. They have done that so many times. So why can't careers be pivoted? So if you really have passion for something else, you can pursue and gain that commercial leverage as well. You also made an interesting point about how the skill to learn other skills is important, which means learning can never stop. And
Yes.
this is also one of the traps that the young engineers are leading into. They want to beef up their resume. So they want to write everything that is possible under the umbrella today on so that they can catch up, like you said, those buzzwords and catchphrases on the resume saying, okay, I know this, I know
So
this, I know this.
I want to see a resume where people will say, I don't know the following. So why can't people write the resume like that? I mean, sort of, instead of saying, I know this and I know that, I mean, C++ or whatever, Java and
the whole world is going
Python.
to be there. Yeah.
I think most of it is fake. Most of it is fake. There is no way I can test it in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And if you are candid enough, you have to tell that what I don't know. That's it.
True.
So I'm definitely of the opinion that there are, at my age, I still feel I don't know many things. I mean, sort of, I would like to learn. And the lifelong learning, as we call it, is a very important subject. I mean, sort of, and I consider that lifelong learning is very important. We learn every day, we teach every day, but you may not have a title of a teacher, you may not have a title of a student, but you are a student every day, you are a teacher every day.
So true, so true. Dr. Dhande, so we are towards the tapering end of our conversation, and again, a little personal question, if you wouldn't mind. Could you name a person or maybe a couple of people, let's say from different fields, maybe if not yours, who inspired you?
I think I was very much impressed with Professor Bose. I met him in Boston. As you know, he is professor of electrical engineering at MIT, as well as the president of the company Bose Systems.
Yes.
The music systems that you see around the world, as a matter of fact. And wonderful, wonderful person. If you ask me what should be an engineer, I will say that it should be somebody like Bose. And I don't remember his first initials, but Professor Bose was both an entrepreneur at heart as well as the professor of electrical engineering at MIT. And I would say the other person I very much consider as the perfectionist or the person who inspires a lot of things is Bismillah Khan. Bismillah Khan was a person who played Shehnai.
Yes.
And I don't see anybody like him in this world today.
Yeah, he created sonnets. So he composed something which did not exist.
Right.
He was brave and courageous enough to actually question the norm. And people were listening to something he was playing never heard before, with an instrument which was so common.
Right.
An instrument which was commonly played in weddings. He took it to an international scale. Yeah.
Exactly.
How
In
awesome
fact, in the northern India, people who play Shehnai are looked down upon. They are not treated as the most respectable people in the society. At least in Maharashtra, they have elevated them slightly, but not to that level where Bismillah Khan took it to that level.
So true. Dr. Dhande, my last question, and hopefully you would not mind this one as well. What do you see? How do you see the future of India? The way we are headed, we know how China is now. India is becoming the capital of manufacturing. We would probably soon be manufacturing for the world as well. Where do you see the promise lies?
Oh, this is a very tough question for me because I consider the Indian society through the second law of thermodynamics. And the second law of thermodynamics tells me that more the chaos, more is the stability. The chaotic systems are very stable systems. And India represents to me a very chaotic system, but it's a stable system. So we will progress through chaos, and the progression through chaos will improve the stability step by step. I mean, now, whether it is through culture, whether it is through manufacturing, or whether it is through other means, you take your pick. But to me, philosophically, it's a progress through chaos.
I don't think there would have been a better way to say that. It's brilliant. Thank you so much. Dr. Dhande, any concluding notes for us?
I would imagine that the concluding remarks would be related to the young people. I would consider the concept of digital Eklavya to be the most important aspect of our conversation. And the young people should become as much a digital Eklavya. If we have thousands and millions of digital Ekalavyas, we will be a wonderful society. Thank you.
How beautiful is that? Thank you so much, Dr. Dhande. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.